everybody from sunny and warm Georgia. So if I look like I'm sweating, it's because I am. But don't worry about me because this is my preferred environment, is just to sit in the sun and sweat. It's medicine to me and I love it. So today I'm here to talk to you about something a bit personal, a bit vulnerable, and we will see how it comes out. Hopefully coherent. I've only recently started to sort of come to terms with the fact that I have PTSD. If you've followed me long enough, then you know that I feel as if my childhood traumas and my journey with taking care of Steve for 9 years with all the intensity, I have a true belief that the wound is where the light gets in. And I have really leaned into a lot of the lessons that I gained in the traumas. And I'm so thankful for the growth that I experienced while in them. And so sometimes I think just that extreme gratitude for the things that I've learned and for the ability to hold space for many of others who are going through their own traumas sometimes overshadows the fact that there is still trauma residing in my body, and my body in a very somatic way is speaking to me lately and wants me to come to terms with, while yes, I have come an immense way with my anxiety, which was once debilitating and once was panic attacks and was once to a point where I felt like I was going to be just a tad lost for the rest of my life. And now I'm able to hold space for people who are in the deepest traumas. I work with a really high risk population, and I can hold space for their panic attacks, for their process, for their grief. And I feel immensely grateful and proud of myself for being in that space. But as I say many times, is that two things can exist at once. I can be in a very healthy place but still be having symptoms of PTSD. And my body has been speaking to me in many ways. After stressful days, I get really shaky. I feel as almost as if I have low blood sugar or that I'm getting sick. When physically speaking, there's nothing going on with my body. There's nothing going on with my health. It is a total response to just hearing traumas and holding space for traumas and feeling the stress. And while I would love to just kind of ignore the fact that this is an occurring process, ignoring doesn't mean that it's going to get any better. I have to finally admit to myself that there is still some healing left to do. And while I am so, so thankful to be in a space to be able to hold space for others, that doesn't mean that my work is done. And so when I first moved to the mountains, I had a very ritualistic practice that I would do morning and night. And I was really trying to allow me to have space to sit in my grief of losing Steve, to allow me to process a lot of the traumas. You know, for the last year and a half of Steve's life, I was almost every 2 to 3 hours saving his life. And I don't know that I was ever really able to communicate it in the moment with how traumatic it really was for me. And that's why whenever he passed away, the fact that the anxiety got worse was surprising to me because I thought I met the depths of my anxiety. And it wasn't until I was trying to re-enter the world that I said, oh, obviously there's more to this. And, you know, I didn't count my anxiety as a symptom of PTSD. I felt like I just had anxiety. And the more that I have worked and grown and managed my anxiety, and I have so much confidence in my ability to manage it that it's no longer debilitating, it's no longer problematic, I realized that it was just a symptom of many other things occurring within my body. And that I need to put my energy back into the same ritualistic type practices that I had when I first moved here, because when I first moved here, I was very aware of how much healing I had left to do. It was so debilitating, it was in my face. Like I couldn't hide from the fact that I had so much healing to do. And now my body is saying, hello, hi, we're still here and there's still work to be done. Just because you're over here doing wonderfully and we're really proud of you doesn't mean that you can stop showing up for yourself. And I still have a daily and practice that I do in the morning and night. It's just not as built up. It's not as probably nourishing as obviously my body needs it to be. And it's really going to be a wonderful process for me to be able to get into the cracks and crevices of this trauma within myself because I'm in a stable place. Because I'm in a place where I am able to find joy and delight and gratitude, even in days that I feel like aren't that great, I am still so overwhelmed by the awe and wonder and blessings that fill my life that I know that I have the space to dig deep and actually get to the root of what is still causing me these trauma responses. And for a long time, I carried this badge of having PTS growth because I know I have become a much stronger, deeper, more caring, passionate, understanding, empathetic human based on my caring for Steve. But there's still a lot of the trauma that is showing in my body that's asking for me to recognize it and to allow space for it. And it's an interesting thing because I think there's two ways in which I really started to notice that there was still work left to do outside of my body sending me signals. Was that sometimes I would say something to one of my clients and I would say, "Oh, I think I was just talking to myself." And then the fact that multiple times in talking to my supervisor, I would say, "I don't know why I physically don't feel really well right now." And she sort of pointed out that she noticed a trend because, this is why therapy works so well. She gets to see me from an outsider's perspective. She knows so much about me because I tell her basically everything, but she's still on the outside of my process, right? And so she was able to pick up on the pattern that the fact that when something was really stressful at work, because we have a really stressful job, or if something really stressed me out in my personal life, because as you all know, I am in the process of a great change. I have no idea where I'm going, and I still have a house to maintain for a year while trying to figure out what the next step is. And she would notice that a lot of these physical symptoms I was having were after really stressful days. And she just very delicately presented it to me as a way of like, hey, perhaps there is still a lot of trauma being stored within your body. And, it's time for you to acknowledge it and maybe dig deep and figure out what it is that your body is asking of you right now to process some of this. And I genuinely am in a process of trusting myself so fully. I have a lot of confidence in my abilities, and I feel so thankful for that. I feel so thankful for that because when I was in the depth of post Steve, I thought that I was never going to be able to do anything. Like, I just thought I was going to crumble under pressure no matter what the pressure was. And I've proven to myself time and time again that I'm not crumbling. But I also still need to be supporting myself in the same capacity that I was when I first moved here. When I first moved here, I was out in the woods a lot. I gave myself a lot of silence away from social media, away from distractions. I did a lot of art. I moved my body whenever I was feeling like something was stuck. And I had a really good sleep schedule and journaling practices. And honestly, taking a social media break. I realized that each time I take a social media break, it makes me realize that I spend an immense amount of time interchanging with other people that I love doing, but also when I don't have that element, I'm able to really, really, really get self-focused and really see things clearly. And honestly, that social media break is what made me realize, oh, a lot of this stuff really is trauma. And a lot of this stuff really needs me to be focusing on myself as much as I'm focusing on my clients. And I think that there is this genuineness to wanting to present myself as healed because I was just so very proud of where I am. And I'm still very, very proud of where I am. And now it's time for me to also say, hey, I have come a very long way. And there's hope for all of you who are at the beginning stages where I was, where you're just broken and debilitated and can't see it. But just because I've come so far doesn't mean I still don't have some work to go. And now I'm a big believer and I'm going to be growing for the rest of my life. And now I'm starting to understand that I'm going to be healing. for a long time too. And as Trevor Hall very beautifully says in his music, it's you can't rush your healing. And it's just like when you get a cold, you want to rush and feel better. And when you have something that is stuck within your body in terms of trauma, you can't rush it. And you certainly can't ignore it and expect it to get better. So, what I plan to do is to dive deeper into my personal practices, which I will be journaling more, I will be meditating more, I will be doing a lot more positive self talk and doing a lot more nervous system regulating, telling my body it's safe, telling my body it's okay. I will be tracking the things that come up as I'm doing this. I will be moving my body more. And I know this sounds like I have been moving my body, seeing as I just hiked 10 miles out of the Grand Canyon with a backpack, but I have always kind of lived by this: be active enough that if something comes up that I need to be active for, I can do it. But as in terms of having a daily practice, I do it whenever I feel, or I'll stretch whenever I'm aching. And what was once something that I was constantly doing to move through some of the feelings, I've sort of gotten a little bit give or take with it. And so I'm going to be getting back to having that be more consistent and more regular. And I will be sharing more of the process of how, yes, I am so proud of myself, but also I still have some traumatized bits in me that are begging me just to pay attention and to heal. And I do know that I'm going to be like sweetly carried through the trenches because of my gratitude practice, because of my ability to just see awe in the natural world around me and to be so aware of things that I find delightful. I know that I'll be okay. And that knowing allows me to create space for me to go deep. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess we will see how the journey goes. I will come and share with you, but the symptoms of shakiness and just feeling physically ill has been happening multiple times a week for the past few months, and I've sort of ignored it for long enough. And now it's time that I recognize my body is communicating with me, and it's asking me to really allow some space to really sweetly heal some of these traumas. And just to tell myself I am worthy of this time and I'm worthy of this space, and I am as worthy of the effort that I give everybody else. So if you are in a process and you're starting to realize that perhaps maybe you still have some work to do, leave me a comment and we can sort of check in on each other and see how we're doing. But I'm sending love out to everybody who's on a journey, and